Warning, the voices heard in this video are made synthetically using artificial intelligence. Nothing in this video reflects anything actually stated by the real-life individuals involved. This video is for entertainment purposes only, and serious political content will be avoided for that purpose. Enjoy!
Or maybe you wanted to sell.
Boom boys, we are Brock and bout to crown the Big Burger King today.
Really, Joe? That's the best alliteration you had?
We're a week early for this video. I didn't have enough time to prepare.
All right, boys, enough meta-knowledge. Before we crown the king, we have some setup to do. First of all, if you're wondering why we have Bo with us, let me explain. We have been collecting pieces of the Warden Armor effort the last couple of episodes, and you just saw us grabbing the boots from Alamar's shop in Dusttown a moment ago. And the helmet can only be found by the Mabari when you ask him to look for something interesting in any deep roads map besides Kadash Theg. Like we said earlier, this is the Origins interpretation of Grey Warden Armor, which we are going to stick on Ogren.
Yeah, Dragon Age 2 probably did Warden Armor the best, but this is still sick as hell. Also, once you grab all three pieces of the sword, the last one being from that ancient darkspawn that I won the 1v1 with last episode, you can go back to Ortan Theg to repair the blade and get probably one of the top 3 swords in this game, Topsider's Honor.
It's definitely a very amazing blade. I'm going to rune slot it and equip next episode when we take on Soldier's Peak. But for now, we should stick with our current sword. Anyways, the 2-minute detour is done. Let's go confront Branka.
I'm going to bring Shale and Ogren with us. Ogren, we are locked in to bringing in Shale will make sense in a moment. I know this leaves us without a mage, but I got to pick my girl Liliana with us in case we need to lockpick or disarm things.
Good call, Joe, but that will make these next fights more difficult for you.
Terrible call, honestly. How are we going to win without my wife?
That doesn't bother you, I hope.
Shave my back and call me an elf. Branka?
Eat a dick, Donald, but also Ogren, you're surprisingly chipper to see Branka, despite just learning she killed her whole house and cheated on you with your own cousin.
Dude is a simple man, I guess. Either that or he wasn't paying attention to Hespith, which, again, understandable.
I think he is just happy to see her after 2 years. Ogren can be that simple at times.
More dwarven, noble, unique dialogue coming in clutch. I'm surprised Branka doesn't recognize our guy, since she was a noble and met with Endrin frequently.
I don't think Branka cared to bother with politics ever, and wasn't exactly caught up to date with the king's children or anything. She seems pretty singularly focused on the Anvil.
Okay, but her plan here is kind of dumb. I get she personally doesn't care who's king, but wouldn't the assembly need a king in order to use the anvil and golems on expeditions and battles in the deep roads? I mean, Cardall and the assembly guys said the king chooses where troops go.
That's not even the dumbest part of her plan, honestly. But as for the Anvil, she is over-hyping its usefulness in the First Blight. The First Blight lasted 192 years, and the Dwarven people were saved by our ancestor, who was warrior caste at the time, and would eventually become Paragon and founder of House Eogican. He rallied the castes and the Dwarven people against the Darkspawn at the cost of multiple Tegs and cities. The Anvil was created about 140 years after this and did help reclaim some cities before Keredan fled into the deep roads and the Anvil was lost. Orzammar had a few hundred golems still, but they wasted all of them looking for Keredan, and all but a handful were lost.
Your point being golems ain't shit.
Pretty much.
Only our girl Shale's worth a damn.
Facts.
Honestly, I kind of agree with you there. Branka Bellin is just another corrupt ruler. Haramont is a real honorable man.
Keep inhaling that cope, Joe. The fact Branka doesn't think much of Peelin doesn't help your case. Her mind is so gone, I could sell her NFTs at this rate.
So you admit NFTs are worthless?
No, I didn't say shit. It's not a maze. This dungeon is just a straightforward path. This girl can't even tell a maze from a path anymore.
Well, while you are correct, it is not a maze, Donald. In her defense, her crazy or no. She hasn't explored any part of this area except for the first corridor, so she doesn't know if it's a maze or not. Also, she might be crazy enough that she thinks this place looks like a maze.
Talk to for 1 minute and see her brilliance.
I am your parent.
What a nothing answer that is. She seems pretty out of it already, and we just met her 2 minutes ago.
Sorry, Uncle Ogren, but your wife has lost it, and no amount of ice cream and stuffed animals will help bring her back from this.
Oh boy, more Darkspawn. Haven't seen that before.
Well, this will be the last time we have to fight them for a few episodes, Joe. Just bear with it. But I'm going to need you to stay close to Branka while we fight so we can hear her true descent into madness. While I do wish there was just an option to kill this walking basket case, since we don't have that option, we might as well get the most story out of her as we can. Plus, I know killing her at this point would make everything we have been doing for the crown pointless, since we do need to put a king on the throne at the end of the day.
Oh boy, I can't wait to hear Branka's manifesto she's written for 2 years by herself in the deep roads. Probably written on rocks and mud for added effect.
So like I know she made Lauren and others turn into brood mothers for troops, but like why do that? She could have just turned back and gotten more troops at any time. Right, she has the ability to veto the assembly, and Endrin was so traditional he would have given her more troops if she asked.
All right, boys, I got a working theory on that, but let's just get this out of the way. First, Branka has completely lost any sanity she may have had before leaving on this expedition, and she is going to show it with her speech. Getting that out of the way, we can dissect a few ideas that piece together her thought process. She talks about how her house wanted to leave her and were rallying against her despite owing her their loyalty. We said it in episode 1, paragons are close to living gods, and ever since she has been raised a paragon, everyone around her praised her and treated her as brilliant. Once you start living with that sense of superiority, can you imagine what happens when they make a mistake like Branka did when she underestimated Keredan's traps?
I mean, I could never make a mistake, but if I somehow ever do make a mistake, I imagine it would be pretty stressful.
Jesus Christ, Donald.
Okay, anyway, I think when she encountered failure and began losing people to the traps and taint and saw people become disillusioned to her, she had to find some way to make herself still in control of the situation. I mean, she's a paragon, right? And she found the Anvil. How could she be wrong? I think giving the women to the Darkspawn so they become brood mothers and create more Darkspawn was a way for her to rationalize even some control of the situation, like, oh, I let this happen, so it's okay.
I guess I can see that, but like, why even use the Darkspawn? Like, this hasn't even helped her get any closer. The Darkspawn are still only in the first room. There's still 4 more to go. And it's not like they can solve traps either. Also, even if they did solve everything now, you have the Anvil filled with Darkspawn. How is she going to get past that?
Well, to be fair, the traps seem like it can be solved if you throw enough people at it. And again, she is so far gone by this point, she probably just thinks the Darkspawn and golems will kill each other, and she can just set up camp after as the victor.
So she's just an evil and delusional chick, got it?
She's probably not as evil as like Howard Vaughn just because she has insanity as a excuse, but Branka is definitely still a psychopath.
Speaking of, you gotta be psychotic yourself to not have brought Morrigan here, Joe. We are getting bent over without a mage.
Donald, compared to your last episode, I am a pro gamer, so I don't want to hear it. Secondly, I didn't want to bring her because we needed Shale and Ogren here, and Morrigan would have just disapproved of us destroying the Anvil anyway.
Wait, hold up. Who said we are destroying it?
Heavy pause. Donald, did you not hear every single word out of my mouth over the last 5 minutes? Branka is insane. We are not giving her the sacrificial dwarven altar that is the Anvil.
I mean, yes, Branka is insane, but the golems are cool, and it's all about being renegade for life.
Donald, sparing the Anvil is a terrible decision. Literally every ending where you keep it ends in Branka causing a war, either Branka against Orzammar, if we pick Belen or Ferelden against Orzammar, if we pick Haremont. By the time of Inquisition, Branka is lost in the deep roads with no contact, stewing with the Anvil and plotting.
Yeah, the Anvil is flat out the wrong choice. It's the ultimate example of short-term reward, but long-term consequences, plus we lose Shale since we brought her.
Oh wait, we lose Shale here? Fine, never mind. But one day you two are going to let me do something renegade in this playthrough. I need my stroke of evil.
Keep your stroking to yourself, Donald, anyways. Peep this gameplay.
Gross Joe also, wow, impressive. You're really pegging those Darkspawn left and right while losing Shale in the process. Very impressive.
Hey Donald, why do you want to do so much evil in this playthrough? Are you worried you'll be going somewhere without video games for a few years? Perhaps they also have iron bars.
Oh, eat a dick. Joe, I already said in episode 1, my grind is too powerful to be put in prison. This is all just for publicity. Now why don't you go plan your last meal before you die from a heart attack? You fossil and save our country the tax dollars.
Okay, boys, calm down, Donald. We can talk about it. There's still quite a few choices that we can make this playthrough. Me and Joe are mainly against the Anvil because we wanted to showcase Shale's interactions with Keredan. It adds a lot of lore to the scene and Shale's character. Viewers, this episode will probably be the culmination of Shale's story since we are going to tackle her interaction with Keredan. And then after we make the long-awaited King choice, we are going to go to the Kadash Tide to finish Shale's companion quest.
Wasn't that supposed to be my line, Barry, I am playing right now?
Don't worry, Joe, your boyfriend has you covered. Kadash Tag will be good, though, since there is 2 really crazy DLC items in that dungeon, one of which we can put on our warden as his last item, most likely.
Yeah, okay, I will ignore like that first half of what you said, but you're right, Donald. The Stone Prisoner DLC has a crazy amount of good drops for a companion-focused DLC.
That's pretty on brand for BioWare, though they often pair companions with great equipment. Kasumi was DLC in Mass Effect 2, and you get the SMG that is almost essential for Insanity runs the Casa Locust. And Javik in Mass Effect 3 has an overpowered particle rifle.
That's a good point. And they probably throw those in for players who value gameplay over the story, since there are plenty of people like that. But I know plenty of BioWare nerds would pay money for a DLC if the character was good.
Well, here we have the second trap, which I always found to be way too obvious. You can see the levers pretty easily, and even if you don't turn off the gas, you could probably still survive this encounter with the tank and healer, since the golem spawned very slowly.
Yeah, these next 2 traps were really underwhelming, especially since Branka was hyping these traps up. You would expect something really deadly, but it's just fight Darkspawn, fight golems twice. And then finally 1 decent trap that you have to figure out the mechanic to defeat it.
The next fights are really going to benefit Shale's build, however, since the next 4 fights will be close quarters combat. It's unfortunate we didn't bring a mage since golems are weak to magic and resistant to physical attacks, but hey, I still trust you, Joe, you got this.
Thanks, Barry. I trust our big girl Stone Aura to pull us through.
It's more like little girl compared to these other golems. I never noticed how smaller Shale is in comparison to normal golems.
Yeah, Shale talks about being whittled down by her master Wilhelm in order to fit in his house better and not get stuck in the door. This is an inside joke from BioWare, as originally Shale was the same size as normal golems, but he would get stuck in most doorways and be unusable for large dungeon portions, so they had to scale him down so he could actually work on every map.
So wait, is that why all the doors lock in this dungeon so the golems don't get stuck?
That's the working theory, yes.
Yes, the invincible army that can repel the blight and bring glory to the dwarven empire stopped by a low-hanging door, the fiercest of foes.
Well, we have a long-ass fight ahead of us. It's important to focus down one side at a time in this fight so less of them spawn, as this fight is actually more difficult than the upcoming final boss. The trick here is that each time you kill a spirit, the side that the spirit spawned on will have an anvil light up, which can be used to damage one of the faces. Once each face has been hit 3 times, it is dead, and once all 4 faces are dead, the fight is over. The constant spirit damage this thing exudes is crippling, so just keep track of what side you're focusing on, and it should turn out okay.
Thanks for the yap, Barack. It's good to know that the spinning head is our greatest foe yet in this epic fantasy.
Our greatest foe was all the unnamed mages in that hideout, Donald, but this thing is definitely up there, whatever the hell it's supposed to be, because I thought dwarves don't have spirits based on the Titan mythology.
It looks like a massive spirit device made of lyrium. There really isn't anything else like this that we see in the series, but I wonder if it might be the spirits of Keredan's workers or the king's army that fought against him when he resisted. That's my personal theory anyway.
Well, Joe, this fight seems nowhere near done, so while we are fighting, do you have a comment question prepped for us?
You know, I'm always ready with the questions, Lil D, and it's relevant to the exciting announcement that Dreadwolf may be coming within a year if IGN is to be believed, so we are all pumped for that, and you can expect the boys and I to provide fresh content on Dreadwolf too.
Yeah, more on that later. And as we get more news, Joe, fire up your question for now.
So since we have been focusing on Shale a lot today too, it's got me thinking about other BioWare DLC companions, and I'm wondering if there will be one in Dreadwolf. I think the last DLC companion we got is Javik, the last 2 full games. After Mass Effect 3 didn't have them. So do you boys think we will have a DLC companion in Dreadwolf? And what unique ideas do you have for a companion for Dreadwolf? In general, it doesn't just have to be a DLC companion. I think adding another golem like Shale would be interesting, but because we are into Vinner, that has golems and intense magical knowledge, it would be interesting to see an elemental golem like in Awakening, or maybe even a golem that can change elemental forms to offer different styles of combat based on his element and form. It would be like Shale, but taken to the next level. You could even create upgrades using the Inquisition crafting system that could improve different abilities based on how you craft and build him. I think that would not only be a fun character to play, but it would create a personal attachment to them by collecting and building the upgrades yourself.
Damn, that's some heat. Joe, good shit. It might rub people the wrong way to redo the Stone Prisoner, but it would be lore appropriate for Tevinter, and enough time has passed, it might be worth it. Truthfully, I think BioWare missed with their last DLC companion in Javik, since he was essential to the plot but behind a paywall. So I would say no to a DLC companion. However, my ideal companion would have to go to a spirit companion, one that maybe knew Solace before he awakened. I think spirits like Justice and Cole ended up having huge impacts on the world of Dragon Age, while also being fascinating characters from a different world. They could have had lasting impacts from the Breach that might tie into Inquisition nicely, and they could even be a mage with special fate abilities or magic. Overall, I think the developers have a lot of cool ideas they could work with a spirit, and it could be amazing if done right.
All right, good points, boys. To answer your first question, Joe, lay that DLC on me. I love all extra content, and I got enough in my bank to pay for it, so I say hell yes to DLC companions. As for my companion ideas, I admit I haven't given companion theories about Dreadwolf much thought, but if I had to give an answer, I would say to go back to the classics and bring out a noble from the Free Marches or something to add some political drama to the story, maybe by helping them reclaim their throne. The more badass nobles we get that resemble the human noble origin, the better, in my opinion. Maybe they could have unique weapons that reflect their house's culture, that create a unique set of fighting, or maybe they could just be a rogue. I think as long as they give us a look at a different culture than what we have already seen, it could be a great addition without impeding on the Dreadwolf's main story. Hell, maybe they could even provide us some political solutions to problems instead of having to beat your way through problems.
Donald. That's literally just a slightly improved version of Sebastian from Dragon Age 2.
Who the hell is that?
Donald, have you even played Dragon Age 2? He was day one DLC for that game, and he was an archer companion who was also a noble.
I refuse to even give any money to play that game. I pirated that shit as soon as I saw the mid-reviews, and I definitely didn't get any DLC, so I have no idea what you're talking about. So my stance on more nobles being goated remains the same.
All right, well, that's just a L take. Honestly, not to mention, Sebastian was universally hated for how boring he portrayed nobility. Maybe some of the changes you added could help, though.
Speaking facts, Barry, but viewers, let us know your ideas for a Dreadwolf companion, and if Dreadwolf should have DLC companions in the comments below. Our editor will respond to everyone and will feature his favorite response in the next episode. We have been seeing a few newcomers who came later in the series the last couple of weeks, so even if you're not watching this episode, when it comes out, I promise our editor will still respond all the same. Speaking of Donald, do you want to read our featured comment from last episode?
Our featured comment comes from Sharemation, who is a more recent viewer of our series and has left multiple comments on all our videos since they started watching, so we appreciate the support as always. They said that their favorite boss is the Andraste dragon on Frostback Mountain, which was Joe's answer. They say that it was their first real big dragon fight, which our editor also agrees with, and experiencing the dragon's horde for the first time is amazing as hell. Thank you for your comment as always, and we can't wait to hear your opinion on Dreadwolf companions.
I'm going to swap Shale out of Stone Aura just to finish this bitch up. But damn, we got through the comment question, and I am still fighting this damn spinning head. I am like 90% sure this is our longest fight, and it's not even a boss fight. Can I just count this as a boss encounter?
I don't see a boss health bar on him, so you can lick my nuts, third placer. You already have plenty of opportunities to catch up to us. You don't need more.
It's technically a Lieutenant Joe, so sorry we can't in good faith count it. However, I have some news that may piss you off. Joe, technically, we could have used a glitch to attack the head more than once at a time if we had two people click on it at the same exact time, which would have halved the time of this fight, so that's my bad.
God damn it, Barry, the one time you forget something is when I am playing. We lost Shale there at the end too, but it's all good. I still came out on top.
Yeah, you ended up coming through thanks to good health management. Joe, nice work.
Speaking of coming, damn, that thing finally blew its lyrium load over all our faces.
Heavy pause.
It's time to finally reach climax, boys. These thick, burly guys are going to lay stuff on us.
Phrasing for the love of God.
Damn, this big guy especially has a lot to unload on us.
This is my 13th reason right here.
Same here, Barry. But it's time for the end game of Orzammar now.
It's time for the standard end of the quest, reveal that lays out the real reason we are here, and gives us several different choices to choose from. Almost every quest does this, and it always feels epic as hell to reach here, especially knowing all the different options we can pick from.
Wow, Barack, you said all that, even though you two Democrats are always going to pick the most pansy-ass good option available.
Y'all think Shale and Keredan were an item? He seems pretty close to her, and she was one of the only golems he sent away.
I could see it, but do Dragon Age fans need more ships? They are some of the thirstiest fans out there.
I'm pretty sure Overwatch takes the cake there. If you have ever done a Google search before, boys, but I agree, Joe, I could definitely see it.
The only woman? A dwarf?
Shale is a woman dwarven baddie, let's go.
You're a true thick and powerful girl, Shale, time to embrace it.
Keredan got so excited to see Shale, he actually forgot to talk about the favor he wants from us. Looks like he is still a bit human after all.
He is so ADHD coded, he saw his girl or an old friend and just went full-on excitement mode and forgot to talk about the Anvil.
This guy is a true sad boy in all his dialogue here. He sounds both tired and fully over everything that happened.
His voice sounds so familiar, I can't place it though.
Keredan's voice actor David Lodge is most famous for his role as Jiraiya from the Naruto English dub.
Jiraiya Sensei.
Yes, indeed, he also voice acts in several video games. He was Brother Burkel, who Donald turned down a few episodes ago, and he also voices Ivern from League of Legends.
Damn first Vax now Jiraiya Dragon Age really has some peak voice acting.
Keredan is definitely singing a different tune here than in his journal. In his journal, he was pouring molten lyrium on still-alive dwarves and shaping their bodies of steel and stone with a sense of pride, and was in wonder at the invention he created.
I mean, even now he says it was his greatest triumph. I think there is still some pride there.
It's a really badass artifact. All things considered, even Morrigan says its power could rival the maker himself.
Morrigan is gassing up this thing way too hard. The golems are not that powerful. We have taken out like 24 of them on our own.
Don't talk about my wife like that.
I would agree with you, Joe, but that one room in Golems of Amgarak begs to differ. That room can clap up even the strongest of wardens, so I got to give the big guys some credit.
So you're on my side now, Barack?
Hell no, Branka is irredeemable. She has no leg to stand on and we lose Shale. This is a no-brainer.
And whose fault is that? All right, the Democrats?
Cope-Harder, this is a perfect end to Shale's character arc. She gets to hear about her past straight from the horse's mouth.
Whatever, Sleepy. So hear me out, boys. Does Keredan giving us a crown really make sense? I mean, we could have just found this crown or forged it. I mean, Keredan being alive centuries after he disappeared doesn't really make sense. At least Branka, age-wise, could still be alive to make us a crown.
Well, the crown looks new, so it's not likely we found it. And I guess most people wouldn't know. Keredan's house symbol, given how old his house is. So I guess it does check out, albeit the assembly should be more skeptical.
I got to side with Donald here. My suspension of disbelief is tested here.
So another contradiction is Keredan will say his apprentices betrayed him and turned him into a golem, but they didn't know how to make control rods. But we know Shale had a control rod, and so did others. When Shale brings this up, Keredan says his apprentices must have learned to make more rods eventually. But if they learned that, then why not make one for Keredan? Wouldn't that be priority number one? So you could make more golems?
So the control rod issue is why Shale sides with Keredan, right? I always found it weird. She spends this entire game thinking she is superior to humans because she is a golem, and then suddenly here she changes her mind and wants to prevent that from happening.
Being controlled by Wilhelm for a decade or two really warped her perspective on life. Her two fears are being under the control rod's influence again and being frozen in place again caused by the control rod. So, yeah, you're right on the money here. She doesn't want anyone else to go through that.
He's been trapped here for 1,000 years, stewing in his own madness. Help me claim the Anvil, and you will have an
This is the
army
definition
that
of the
you've
pot
never
calling the
seen.
kettle black, Branka. You have been stuck here, stewing in your own madness. For 2 years, at least Keredan has made a rational, organized argument.
That must be something foreign to you, huh, Joe?
Is this what our
Keep that energy in the fall, little D.
My one regret is that we can't side with Branka and then get her to realize all the shit she did wasn't worth it. If we pass the persuasion check, she will destroy the Anvil herself and then kill herself to atone.
Everything in this game is dark as fuck.
You heard it here first, viewers. Barack thinks mentally ill women should commit, not live.
Eat a dick, Donald, you know. That is not even close to what I said. I just think that ending is the most thematic ending to the quest and to Branka's and Ogren's story.
Yeah, and if we did that, we wouldn't be taking this huge Ogren disapproval hit right now.
It's fine if Joe picks the right dialogue asking Keredan for a boon for Ogren, the approval hit cancels out.
All right, that makes things a little better. However, I still think we got the less interesting options out of the 3 options we had. Also, one last weird thing, if you side with Keredan here, Branka whips out the old control rod and paralyzes him. But if you side with Branka, she does the same, and we fight Keredan. But somehow Branka is paralyzed now. How the hell does that work? Is she part golem?
Okay, that might genuinely be a plot hole. Keredan isn't a mage, so it's not like he used magic, so I assume it was just done, so that the fight is a little challenging because this fight is one of the easiest in the deep roads, which is a little underwhelming mechanically. The only unique mechanic in this fight is Branka or Keredan will use the lyrium veins to cast some kind of magic and heal themselves. Using the veins before they can do this makes this fight just like every other tanky boss.
Wait, hold on. We are not able to use the veins ourselves in the Fade or this fight as a dwarf, but Branka can use them like it's nothing. Is she a hacker?
Okay, so we found 2 plot holes.
Also, Keredan and Shale can use the veins despite being dwarfs that turned into golems. So how does that work?
Okay, fine, this boss fight is just ass. Is that what you 2 want me to say?
Get fucked. We finally beat Barack at his own game. This is glorious time to retire from Lorekeeper Nerd.
This is probably what Dreadwolf will look like when we get to it sooner or later, since Barack doesn't have his 2,000 hours to shove down everyone's throat.
Hey, even if I don't have the gameplay hours, I will still have plenty of lore and game sense to provide the fans. But hey, maybe my lack of hours will mean there will be a new anchor in the squad for the new game.
So wait a minute, you're just calling yourself the anchor of our team right now.
Well, yeah, I got those Obama observations. And even the viewers have pointed out I cheese fights, I thought it was obvious.
You're kind of a Dick Berry. Also, it's kind of sad that the golems who were just ads in this fight are more of a threat than Branka herself.
It doesn't help that there was just a golem gangbang session earlier, since Stone Aura adds so much threat to Shale, and they all just focused on her while the damage dealers cleared house.
That, combined with the fact I gave Shale a free heal with delirium veins, made this entire fight easy money.
Don't pat your ass on the back too much, Joe. This is a cakewalk compared to the fights I had in the dead trenches. Plus, you still have a long way to go before you can catch up to my boss kill count.
Well, good shit, Joe. You beat the final boss of the Deep Roads?
It was pretty underwhelming, but it feels good to be finishing up this plot line.
Branka is really out here thinking she can win the 1v5 clutch like she is playing Siege.
Damn Ogren straight up decapitated his own wife. That is both traumatic and a baller move.
I will personally pay for his first therapy session. He did us a solid, but that's still traumatic given all he went through to try and rescue her.
Ogren's going to need plenty of it, but we will see more of that in camp and even further into Awakening. Also, here we have Keredan speaking more inaccurate information.
Oh yeah, this was what you were talking about episodes ago. You think that Kitty caused Shale to kill his master, and Keredan here thinks Shale had a PTSD flashback, and that's what killed Wilhelm.
Which makes no sense. If Shale had a flashback, that means she would have some memory of what happened, or this kind of thing would have happened more frequently. The demon is the most likely outcome.
But Keredan made the golems. Wouldn't he know the cause of those reactions better than anyone?
When he didn't sound too sure of that answer, he added maybe to it, so he's not certain, and 2, he doesn't know about the desired demon present at the time, so he is missing key information when making his guess. But the paralysis Shale experienced, he does have a answer for, and he's more confident with that answer. So I will take him at his word that Shale was paralyzed because he killed his master.
Sounds like you're picking and choosing what to believe, but go off, Queen.
Ogren's a real one getting offered a boon and turning it down.
Uncle Ogren stays on top. This story never has a happy ending for him, but he's still willing to push on and fight side by side with us to stop the blight, even at the cost of being a surface dwarf.
One piece of funny dialogue, if you side with Branka, is you can offer up Ogren's soul to be used as a golem. But of course, Branka says she can't yet, because she needs to study the Anvil before she uses it. Also, obviously, there is no happy ending for Ogren. Here, even if we side with Branka, she rejects him and tells him to find someone else as she becomes fully engrossed in the Anvil now.
I didn't think so.
First he's cucked by his cousin, then he gets cucked by a Anvil. You can't go any lower at this point, homie.
Wait a minute, so Keredan can bang his hammer on the anvil to make the crown?
Well, yeah, he is a smith. What's your point, Joe?
This hunk of steel said earlier no golem can touch the anvil, and that is why he needed our help as a non-golem.
Oh shit, good catch, Joe. This dick is lying to us. Kill him.
Okay, that's actually a good point, Joe. You found another plot hole, though. Granted, I think this one was just a phrasing error on the writer's part. I think Keredan meant he can't destroy or damage the anvil as a golem because of a magical curse rather than he can't touch it at all. That's usually how magic like this works. It's all about intention, rather than actual physical touching, at least as far as writing goes.
Spoken from a true fantasy writing nerd, so you know it's true, boys. POV, you are a Redditor spending 12 hours editing a new meme that a blue checkmark dude on Twitter will take credit for.
Cue the Zelda music.
Damn, Keredan got that bling, didn't know he was chill like that.
To be fair, Keredan, one of their names is Aeducan, who you would actually recognize since Aeducan was still a living paragon when Keredan was alive. You'd be surprised how little the dwarven house has changed in the centuries.
If that's the case, you could put Keredan in a suit and add him to the assembly. If Joe can be president, this guy can be a member of Dwarven Congress.
That's true, Donald. You already showed there is no weight limit in politics. Show him the body positivity, big dog.
Oh shit, that stray hit a vital.
Wow, so original, Joe. Also, Keredan, that's pretty fucked up of you to leave your girl Shale hanging like that. You could at least stay a few minutes longer to answer some more of Shale's questions. Like who she was, where she came from, your relationship with her, who was the dom in the relationship.
That was definitely Shale. Come on, she is too sassy not to be the dominant one.
Well, I guess the game doesn't want to make it easy on us, so we are going to have to do a quest to figure out some of Shale's origins.
Boom, bitch. Add this shit to our warden's feats. It only took him one good swing to break an ancient magical anvil.
Bro could not wait one more minute to kill himself.
Well, he has been waiting for this moment since the end of the first blight.
I trust in all Tunsha. May you always find your
Jiraiya-sensei, no!
At least more Naruto about Nagato first.
It's a good thing Shale tells us golems don't feel pain because death by lava is definitely slow and painful.
Well, Branka can kill herself the same way, and she's not a golem. She's just running on pure insanity.
Important to note that Keredan's goodbye was an actual phrase from the dwarven language, which shows the dwarves used to have their own language. But isolation and heavier importance on surface trade has all but eradicated the language, besides a few common phrases and last names.
It would be cool if dwarves used more of their native language, kind of like how the Dalashtu language always adds more to a fantasy culture. Anyways, viewers, don't forget to loot this chest at the bottom of the cliff. It has some good loot and a Zevran gift as well.
Before we head back and unveil our king choice, we have two more quests to settle. First, we have to go to the Golem Registry to pick up yet another easy quest to turn into the Shaperate. Then we are going to talk to Shale to pick up her companion quest as well.
You would think Shale would have more dialogue to say about this, or maybe even recognize her own name of the registry, but I guess this doesn't help jog her memory.
Ogren is actually more helpful here in reading the registry than Shale is, but it would be cool if a dwarven warden could read the registry as well.
True. But our warden has been spoiled enough during this arc. Our special interactions are about to come to an end. We are about to be like every other warden.
Well, we are about to unlock Kadesh Tag 2. I'm hyped for the loot, and to end Shale's arc this episode, the big girl deserves it.
True, we are knocking out companion arcs every episode now. We are keeping good pace. Important to note that if you don't bring Shale here, you can still unlock this quest by bringing Shale to Keredan's Cross or Orton Tig after meeting Keredan. This gives us less dialogue, but we are still able to find out Shale's backstory. If you sided with Branka, however, you will have to pass a persuasion. Check to get Shale to stay by lying to her about destroying the Anvil.
We will help the big girl in a few moments. First, we got to crown the king, finally.
One thing. I believe I know where Kadash Tig is.
Uncle Ogren maintains being the goat, giving us a free teleport.
A free teleport with a side of depression.
True, and it's the time we have all been waiting for. But if you all know how me and the editor operate, you know, we are about to get statistical as hell in here, so strap in, viewers.
So while the assembly will always be deadlocked, with only the crown being able to resolve it, Barak was not entirely right when he said the Carta quest had no relevance to the election of the king. Every main quest we could have done earns points towards Harrowmont or Bellin, and can affect the dialogue the Shaperate in the assembly says, as well as the final confrontation over how many people support Balin or Harrowmont.
Yeah, doing the favors can shift the assembly one way or another, and even going undercover for Bellin can have the effect on the assembly vote, as well as raising Orda to noble status. However, again, this has no effect on the final decision. It just shows your actions have some consequences.
Ogren is straight up spouting words that sound unbelievable, but because we have the Bling with Keredan sticker on it, everyone believes us.
God damn it, Joe, for the last time, it's a seal, not a damn sticker.
Well, viewers, it's the moment you have all been waiting for. And the final winner by a handful of votes is
King Bellin. Keep these graphs here, viewers.
Wow, our editor's really making good use of his accounting degree, huh?
Don't knock him, Donald. He made this graph while at work like the hard-working young boy he is.
If you see him as a young boy, please stay as far away from him as humanly possible.
Okay, you assholes, if I can talk about this graph now. So as you all can see, we have Bellin in yellow and Harrowmont in dark blue, since this matches their respective families' crest colors. On the left, we have the total votes per episode since we started asking the question, and on the right, we have the total votes calculated up. It's important to note the biggest number of votes was in episode 8, which makes sense since it was the original comment question, so it was most present in people's minds. This was also what really won it for Bellin, because as you see, after episode 8, the votes began to tie for each ruler, and the ones that supported Harrowmont were pretty vocal, so we want to shout those out as well, even if the majority vote was still for Bellin.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised at how well Harrowmont did here, considering the initial votes and the majority of the fan base wanting change in Orzammar. We will have Joe get to our favorite Harrowmont defense. Also, we didn't include some comments that seemed to be more in the middle, as we didn't want to make any assumptions. But our favorite reason for siding with Bellin was from Micah Stephens, who not only loved my talking points, but also referenced the goated author Terry Pratchett as his reason. We will certainly see how this bastard moves Orzammar forward.
If Orzammar hasn't been exterminated by Bellin's underhanded ass, I am sure things will be just fine for the little guys. So honestly, the Harrowmont supporters were very persuasive since they used roleplay reasons using our origin to pick our choice, which is always our favorite choice, but our favorite comment supporting Harrowmont was from Believe It. He always leaves a thesis on our videos, which, believe it or not, are. Editor does read them all, even if he doesn't respond to every part of your comment. Just a heads up, man. Anyways, Believe says Harrowmont is noble and fair in his dealings with the warden and is the legitimate choice, but overall the temporary choice, since he believes that eventually Harrowmont will pass on quicker than Bellin and lead on to the next great dwarven leader faster, which is a cool theory to consider rather than leaving it to a corrupt politician.
Well, thank you all for your comments. I hope we showcased that both sides had legitimate claims. Now the hatchet has been buried between our brother, and we can rejoin House Edgecon, which, fun fact, Bellin begins to grow rather fond of us as a brother again after becoming king. In Inquisition, it's revealed Bellin built a statue of the dwarven noble to honor the second paragon of House Edgecon. And Bellin will also continue the search for a dwarven warden who is missing in action as of the time of Inquisition, saying they will not give up on a paragon. Also, we will get a small quest in Dragon Age 2 concerning Harrowmont now. Also here, we are going to have our first bit of restored dialogue with Ogren. This scene isn't in the base game, despite being pivotal to his reason for joining us. I'm going to shut up and let it play out at the behest of a viewer.
And me, I'm a warrior without a house to defend.
Wandering about killing darkspawn with a sodding Grey Warden sounds like just the thing to keep me occupied. So what do you say? I will. But who sodding cares? Branka ran off with my house, and I can't carry weapons down here anyway. I'm better off up there with you than down here where the sodding children laugh at me. And glad I am to hear it. You won't regret it. Now, do any of these sad sacks following you around know the first thing about making ale? Never mind. You can stop with the glaring. I'll ask him myself.
Without this scene here, Ogren just heads up the surface with us saying nothing until he gets outside, and it makes it seem like he never cared about caste or anything. This scene is goddamn necessary for his character.
Looks like we got dwarves left and right to congratulate us. Here's our goat Cardle making a pit stop in the city.
Here is where we can get a pretty substantial buff to our dwarven army by asking Cardle and the Legion of the Dead to join the fight. This will bring Legion Avengers into the general army of the dwarves, as well as Cardle personally joining us during the final archdemon battle.
Wait, I thought it's normally one of the hardest speech checks to pass to get Cardle on our side. How did we convince him with no check?
If you are a dwarf, you can simply ask him, and he will oblige, probably because he views us as equal being a dwarven warden. And if we are going to the surface, he can too.
Dwarven noble still stays on top with the dialogue choices, we just can't escape it. Speaking of, we should go tell our baby mama that our son is official Aeducan since we are a noble again too. We can finally give them a name too.
I actually would have forgotten all about her if my man Maury hadn't shown up to DNA test her. It just happened so early it's easy to forget.
Right on the money, Joe. We actually have a lot of side quests to turn in before we head to Kadash Tug, mostly in the Shaperette, but also around town.
Speaking of first stop is the Shapers. Barry actually forgot to bring that book back, so we gave it back to them, and we hit up Orta to let her know she's a noble.
It's kind of funny we dragged that book all through the deep roads and back in our bag, and it's still in good enough condition to give back to them.
Yeah, that was my screw up there, but it still works out at the end of the day. We are just love bombing everyone here with gifts we made Orta, the last remaining noble of House Orton. We are about to give the Shaperette new lore on the golems, and we can add entries to the memories. Shaperette lore and lore that makes the Legion of the Dead connected with a noble house, which would mean all members of the Legion are warriors or nobles to some degree.
I mean, we know all about the Golem volunteers since we brought Shale to Keredan, but what the hell kind of Shaffer lore did we find, Barry?
Oh God, you had to get him started, didn't you, Joe?
I think you might like the idea for how they determine the quest reward, Donald, so hear me out here. The Shaper's Life is another quest where we simply read tablets scattered around the deep roads. The first is right at the deep roads entrance in Orzammar by the Mines Commander. The second is in Keredan's Cross, and the third is all the way in the Dead Trenches. The purpose of the Shaper's Path is to showcase the fallen empire of dwarves and the importance that the Shaperate holds in recording the memories, especially since so many cities in the empire have fallen. The reward for this quest is dependent on your warden's class, which is one of the few times in Origins they give a class-specific reward.
This sounds like the inspiration for Dragon Age 2's quest rewards, where there is unique armor and weapons dependent on Hawk's class. It's a really goated change, in my opinion.
So what's our reward as a warrior then, Barack?
Well, it's a tier 6, two-hander sword.
God damn you, bro Obama. You really just yapped a doctoral thesis to us just to tell me all we got from that is a shitty two-hander. I want those 2 minutes of my life back, you goddamn nerd.
In the word of Hans Mollman, you would have just wasted them anyway. I still found that cool, Barry. It's kind of like the building blocks into one of the better mechanics of Dragon Age 2.
Thank you, Joe. It's cool when you find links like that. Well, we can ask Orta for a money reward, or to support Bielan's rule. But if we return to her after fully leaving Orzammar, she will have to give us money, and extra XP, even if we never asked for a monetary reward. So we will have to check back later to get the maximum reward out of this.
I just asked her to support Bielan for now, to bury the hatchet between me and Donald, and show support for the snake.
Thanks, Joe. Anyways, let's go hit up our baby mama.
So viewers, we get to name our son now, and while a lot of these options are good, I think it should be a no-brainer who we are picking if you have been watching since episode 1.
Oh, my lord.
I don't think anyone has picked Trian Dude as an asshole to the end. Duncan is nice, but truthfully, we did not know Duncan that long to become attached and name our son after him. I think we had like 4 or 5 conversations with him before he died. Our big bro Gorim is the obvious choice, and I hope he names his child after us too.
Hey, Filda, your son is definitely dead, and he died a heroic death, totally unrelated to us.
Even if you keep him alive, you shouldn't tell her he's a live girl. Will actually march straight into the deep roads to find him and probably get ganked by Darkspawn.
True, it's better just to give her a little bit of closure with her son so she can try to process the grief.
You two are just afraid of her Karening out on you or getting canceled. Don't be so mushy.
I don't know what you mean. That totally isn't something we would do.
So I don't know why or when I remembered to do this, but my neurons just activated, and I remember me and Barry both forgot to finish Zerlinda's Woe. I picked it up during my last episode, but we never finished it, and it's pretty easy to do. We just have to shake down her dad to let her and her baby back.
This is probably the most glaring reason why the caste system needs to be abolished or changed. Here we have a dad who kicked his own daughter out because she got pregnant by a casteless man and had a casteless son. He doesn't even acknowledge the child as his grandson. He just sees him as a disease.
Would you rather have a casteless son or thought daughter?
Donald, please.
Donald, we are not doing that. But anyway, there are a few ways to handle this quest. You can either convince Zerlinda to go to the surface, convince her to go to the chantry if you open it up, or if you're feeling evil, convince her to abandon her baby in the deep roads.
The most honest man in Orzammar lies dead at the headsman's block.
Rip Doolin, you are certainly one of the dwarfs of all time.
Oh, boo-hoo, cry about it, bitch. Enjoy living topside and working as a merchant like every other dwarf.
Donald, the way Bellin is clearing house, bro is not going to make it to the surface. He will probably be dead by the end of the week. But we will hear more about that in Dragon Age 2.
That Rika, remember her? Murad's favorite from way back. And word on the street is he's got no qualms about recruiting brands for his troops. During the Blight, he's going to use whatever Orzammar's got. I could get behind that.
Damn, that's some sexy world building right there to promote Belen. I have a writing Woody right now.
Holy cringe.
Barry, your ass is not allowed to be cringe. You can't do it right, and 90% of the time you're not being ironic about it.
Well, we saved a child from being homeless on the street, and hopefully more will be saved now that Bellin is going to roll out the casteless reforms.
He calls him it, but maybe.
Hell yeah, girl, send your child to be my servant. I could always use more of those when I become a living god.
Thank you enough.
We do not support child labor, folks. This is a joke anyways. Let's head for Kadash Tig to wrap things up.
Here we have the last time we will see Loghain. Before the lands meet, looks like things have already gone off the deep end due to poor-ass management.
God, seeing that stick-figured old fuck still breathing is driving me feral. At least the next time we see him, it will be at stabbing distance.
Oh, hey, we get Anora again, too. It's kind of crazy they portray her as this grieving widow, when in reality she is just as manipulative as her father was.
Worse than that, she is kind of hot, so she has a major advantage over her dear old dad.
Loghain, I love you, but you are talking out of your ass right now. Darkspawn only come to the surface during a blight, and the archdemon is already at the surface now.
Your ass may not have the numbers, but we do bitch.
Donald, you're getting ahead of yourself. We still need Redcliffe and the elves.
We have the based-ass dwarves who know how to fight Darkspawn and have the entire country's army at their backs. We are more than ready enough now.
We have the mages too, Donald.
Who the fuck cares about that?
Bro's ignoring the actual strongest unit in terms of gameplay strength.
I know we are clowning him, but I really do understand not wanting Orlais to help here. This younger generation is way too eager to call Orlais allies, like they wouldn't want to make Ferelden a puppet nation again if they had the chance.
Brock, don't defend our enemies. They need to be put out of their misery, not coddled.
Donald, hear me out here. Say aliens started attacking the United States while you're in office. You're getting slammed hard, and several cities are already under siege. Are you hitting up China for military help?
What the fuck? I would rather give Joe a oiled up foot massage than ask a commie for anything. Did my 4 years mean anything to you?
No, they didn't. But more to the point, that is, basically Loghain's whole stance. He wants Ferelden to finally stand on their own as a respected nation, and he will take everyone with him in order to do that.
Shit, I can actually respect that.
So does that change your mind on the Landsmeet choice?
Hell no, he is still a damn pussy who fled the Darkspawn instead of fighting them, and he isn't even able to handle a few nobles after taking out his two biggest opponents already.
Wait, two? R.L. Amon, and who's the other?
Well, technically, Howe took care of him, but Loghain's other biggest opponent is the Causlins. Since now that Keredan is dead, the Causlins are the only other nobles that have the same rank as him, and could fill the power vacuum of Keredan. Literally, as long as he kept Honora on his side, he outranks every other noble in Ferelden, and should be able to keep them in line, but he still fucks it up. I can't respect that, even if we share the same views on domestic priority.
Holy shit, did Donald just lay out lore?
It's a moot point as well, since we are not choosing our bro Alistair over Loghain either.
That is actually a good point. I am impressed with both of you today. You two are really pulling your weight on the lore side of things.
Don't get too excited now, Barry. We are not at virgin status
Really
yet,
married with
unlike you
kids.
anyways. Donald, I got your waifu back on the squad. Since Ogren doesn't have any special dialogue here, so I'm going to run with your patented squad to wrap things up.
Oh God, this is the only episode since the first one that I haven't seen her. I missed you so much, my love. Again.
Oh shit, there's a Bronte. You don't see too many of those underground rhinos in this game. It feels like pulling a rare Pokemon card.
That's about the most unique thing in this dungeon, Joe. It's absolutely barren, besides the Golem Wall and the final boss.
Yeah, okay, just ignore my feelings, I guess.
Yeah, it's crazy that this area is the exact opposite of Onolith that had history and an actual story to it, but this dungeon is just fighting the same enemies we have already fought, with just the environment being different.
The only lore to be had here is that House Kadash is the house that the Dwarven Inquisitor is from. Inquisition added a lot more lore about Shale's former house than this DLC ever did. Kadash was exiled sometime around the First Blight and is now prominent members of the Carta, which include the Dwarven Inquisitor as well. We also come back here during Witch Hunt, but there really isn't any additional lore provided during that DLC.
At least the loot drops are unique, and speaking of, we are about to get our last set of late game gear with the blood-gorged amulet. It lowers our willpower and strength by 3, but we already have plenty of buffs to our strength and other stats. And this combined with our Life Giver ring gives us almost 50 con in total, which means come the end of the game, we will have almost 500 HP, which is like a third of the health of most bosses.
Very true, Donald, as a tank. We have basically reached raid boss status in the RPG sense of things. Now all we have to do is get our specializations maxed out and raise our decks more.
The power fantasy is real, and our little guy, I'm excited for late game. Anyways, there isn't too many important things in this dungeon, so we are going to start skipping through fights.
Speaking of, we got another level up coming up, boys. How do we want to allocate it? Are we finally going to raise up my goated Templar specialization?
I'm thinking we should just finish champion first and get all our buffs in order, but don't worry, Donald Templar will be next on the list.
God, I have never done a playthrough without Templar for this long before. It feels wrong and gross.
Well, while we have the last few fights, I suppose there is a little something we can talk to you all about. Obviously, we will keep you all updated on the situation as we get more news about Dreadwolf, most likely this coming summer. But for now, we are going to assume Dreadwolf is coming sometime in all the winter season. We are absolutely going to finish everything in Origins, including Awakening, before Dreadwolf is released, so there's no worries there.
Yeah, even if we have to lock our editor in a writing room and force him to finish everything by November, we will make it happen for you, our beautiful viewers.
Donald, please don't torture our editor.
Lick my nuts, Joe. Just focus on not being clapped up.
Yeah, okay guys, anyway, there is no conflict to our Origin series, but from a series and upload perspective, we are concerned about our Dragon Age 2 and Inquisition schedule. If the game releases when it is announced, we will likely be in the middle of 2 when it releases. And when it releases, all 3 of us are going to want to play it.
Not only because it's the new game, but because we might be able to bring in a ton of new Dragon Age fans into our community. And you guys are some of the most goated and knowledgeable fans around, so we know new players will be right at home.
Thank you, Joe. So yeah, if Dreadwolf releases during our Dragon Age 2 series, we will try to get to a natural end of the arc before we put it on hold and start Dreadwolf content, which will be this series and probably our editor doing some lore videos as well. If we are close to the end of 2, when Dreadwolf releases, like say we are at the Era Shock or farther, then we will just finish the game and not leave you all hanging. From an editing standpoint, this is a nightmare for our editor but he will plan when more news gets released, and we just wanted to be transparent with all of you going forward.
I hear a threatening ore up ahead, and why do I hear boss music?
Well, thanks to your yap, Barak, we are nearly at the end of the dungeon. It's time to see if Joe can handle a ogre, or was that last fight a damn fluke?
I am him Donald Watch Me Cook here. This ogre is about to get cooked harder than the tower ogre. Shale's aura is about to make us untouchable.
Yeah, an ogre fight really isn't too challenging at our level, even if they bring out a few Shriek boys to the fight as well.
Poor Shale, she has been spit roasted and abused this episode like no one's business. At least my big girl has been keeping the party safe with her aura.
Damn, they are more resilient to CC than I thought, but yeah, it's no stress, boys. Our damage and resistance is way higher now. I'm interested to see if there's any struggles we are going to have now.
Hell no, our warden is too based for anyone at this point.
Probably not, but you never know. A random encounter could be scaled so hard on Nightmare that it starts clapping us up. This ogre drops another one of the 3 really good pieces of loot in this dungeon, the Kadash Stompers, which is a really good rogue boot, which we will put on Zevran for the added dexterity bonus. The last good piece of loot is a dagger called the Dead Shanker, which is in the chest up ahead and adds a huge cunning bonus. Perfect for Zevran as well.
Wow, how lucky that you get to build up your boyfriend, Barak. But anyway, with the ogre cleared, we now have everything cleared in this Thaig. Our big girl can have all the answers she needs, and her arc is over.
With Shale knowing she used to be a dwarven woman, she has everything she needs to travel with our favorite mage grandma to try and restore her dwarven body again.
True that, and we see Shale and Wynn traveling together in the novel Asunder. But we will cover Asunder in a later episode. One last thing about Shale. While I was doing research on Shale, I found out her voice actor Geraldine Blecker passed away in 2021. Rest in peace, Geraldine. You played a beloved character in this series.
Damn, Barak, you really had to end things on a sad note, didn't you? Someone is cutting onions up in the White House now.
Sorry, boys, but I just wanted us and the viewers to put some respect on her name. Anyways, with the big girl story finished, I take it we are going to call it here. Next episode, we will be leaving Orzammar and moving on to a new arc. The longest running arc in this game is finally done. Boys,
those who became golems. And there is my
We
name.
finished the dwarf arc
Shale
W's
of
all
House
around,
Kadash.
lads. We will start a new arc after Barak finishes the Soldier's Peak
remember
next
now. I
episode,
remember,
since
Shale.
we are still
That
doing a DLC
was
between
me.
main quests. As we depart the land of the dwarves, we thank you all so much for watching, and we can't wait to keep bringing you the hottest Dragon Age
I
content.
will need to think
Hell
on
yeah,
these
boys.
things I've
All right, viewers,
learned.
with the video ended, you know
Perhaps
the
I will
drill
speak
by
to you
now.
about
Don't
them
forget to leave your
soon.
comment question
For
on your
now,
ideal
let us
companion
carry
in
on as we
Dreadwolf.
have.
And also, any other questions or concerns you have about the release of Dreadwolf or our series, our editor will respond to every comment as normal. Don't forget to stick a thumb in my ass and like the video, and we will see you all next time as Barry heads to the surface and the DLC map Soldier's Peak. But for now, stay safe, Biden out.